Hello and welcome to another episode of So Fly. It's the beginning of June and spring is in full swing. I like that little rhyme I gave you there right off the top of the show. Fishing season's in full swing as well, which is amazing. My name is Mitch, and we've got Yilma on the show.
Hey, everybody, it's Yilma.
And we've got Aldo.
Hey, everyone.
And we've got a very special guest on the show today, an incredible angler from Portland. We've got Kayla Lockhart on the show. Kayla, how's it going?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm in Portland, Oregon, not Maine.
Portland, Oregon, not Maine, yes.
very, very important distinction there. It's West Coast.
Yes.
How's the weather out there?
It's gorgeous today, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't enjoy it, but it's really nice today.
Awesome. So good. Oh, my God. Yeah, out west is like a whole thing. I mean, we want to talk about like your fishing life. Kayla is a fly fisher on the West Coast, and we're going to get into your fishing background and talk a lot about sort of the type of fish you catch out there and where it all began. But before we get started today, I just wanted to shout out 40 Creek. What are we drinking today, Aldo?
Oh, man, I'm drinking some 40 Creek copper pot stilled whiskey. Kayla, what are you drinking over there on the West Coast? Drinking anything?
Yeah, it's an Omission beer. It's out of Portland, too.
Oh, Omission, that's a gluten-free beer, right?
It is. Yeah, it's so damn good, though.
It is good. They use this crazy enzyme that like they brew it with gluten, and then they take the gluten out after. So it still tastes like a beer.
Yeah. It comes the closest from my experience, at least.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So
I drink a lot. I'm sorry. So I can't.
I wasn't expecting you to know of that beer either, so I was surprised.
Yeah, so we're drinking whiskey. We've got some beers going, and we're just excited to talk to you. Kayla Lockhart is you've you're blowing up. You're on Instagram. You're on the Reddington feed. You're catching permit. We can't wait to hear all about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had a good year. I think I've used up all my luck.
Oh, yeah? You've been out fishing a lot?
I spent 4 years trying to get a steelhead, and I got 2 this year, and really great ones. They're huge. And then I caught my biggest permit. I went to Colombia, and I caught payara and a record peacock bass, a sardinita, and it's only June, so we'll see what the rest of the year has for me. Yeah, I don't know what else I could do.
We're all staring at each other like, that sounds like the most amazing thing ever.
That's an insane start to the year.
I might just have to retire.
Yeah, seriously. Holy
We're just in May.
I go back and I catch some trout, and I'm like, yeah, it's not. I'm just kidding. I still love trout.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Why don't we jump back to the beginning then and find out a little bit where you're from originally, and where did you learn to fly fish? How did it all begin for you?
Yeah, I'm from Minnesota, and I lived there my whole life until I moved to Portland. I'm the second oldest of 7 girls, and so my dad didn't have any boys, and I was kind of like the only one that was a little bit interested. So I started with just your regular Snoopy rod as a kid, and slowly got bored of that, and I was hunting white-tailed deer, and I've always wanted to fly fish, but I didn't know anyone that knew how, and I kind of just always went to my dad for everything, like if to teach me, and so that was one thing where he's like, yeah, I can't teach you that, so you got to figure that one out on your own. And so I signed up for classes at the fly shop, Bob Mitchell's fly shop in Minnesota, and he just had like 101, and it was winter in Minnesota, not the best time to start. So I honestly started tying flies before I even ever casted a fly rod into the water. And then I finally got out in March there, caught my first brown trout on dry, and I was like, yep, this is tight. I kind of just never looked back since then.
That's so rad. What was it that got you interested in fly fishing and fly tying?
Well, for me, I always definitely used getting outside as a mental release. I'd very much internalized everything when I was a kid, and so holding all that in, you can only go so long without it affecting your mental health. And so I quickly realized at a young age that like just going to the water in general, not even fishing per se, but going to the water already helped. But just fishing with a conventional gear, it wasn't fully occupying my brain. And when I started fly fishing, it was like the first time where my brain like was only focused on the task at hand. Like there's so many little things that are involved in fly fishing, so it makes it a lot easier to fully be present in the moment because you have to be watching your line, you're casting, you're physically and mentally fully into the sport that you're doing and the task at hand. And so once I started fly fishing, I was like, it was incredibly helpful for my anxiety that I struggle with, and just clearing my head, and mentally it just has made me a better person. So a lot of us can relate to figure that out, though.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing thing that you got. Like it took you into that and kind of helped you, almost just sort of, cope through that stuff. So this is going to come up later, but can you talk a little bit about the Mayfly project by any chance?
Yeah, I was just on Instagram and I somehow stumbled upon it. I can't remember, how you just go through the black hole of clicking and clicking and clicking, and all of a sudden you're like, how did I get here? And I found their page a couple years ago, actually, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? I need to be a part of it. My sister, who just aged out of foster care because she just turned 18, and I was through the system with my sister as I was a kid, and so I was just fully resonated, and I was like, I need to be a part of this. This is amazing. And so I called, and they're like, you need to sign an application, and it was really easy. You just go on the website, and I put an application in. I was like, I want to be a mentor, and then they go through an interview process to like make sure you're a good fit, and that's how I met Caitlin Barnett, who did the story of me in the magazine, the Fly Fisherman magazine.
That was an awesome article.
Yeah, she did a great job writing it. It was, it was kind of like I don't talk about it ever, and I didn't really expect to. She's just like, I just started talking about it when I wanted to do the Mayfly project because I knew that it would, resonate to her. Like, obviously, I'd be a good fit with the kids.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was just telling her because I'm like, I literally need to do this. Like, this is right up my alley. And then she's like, holy shit, like, I want to do a story on you. And I was like, on me? Why? And she's like, just let me do it. And I was like, all right. And she killed it. She did a great job. It was definitely not easy. It's still not easy. It's something that'll always not be easy for the rest of my life to talk about. But after I did, the amount of people that reached out to me, like I had like 12-year-old kids messaging me saying that they read it and they've been trying to fly fish and like they're in foster care, and like they look up to me and they're like, you can get out of it and be successful. Like I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to, it was hard to process. It was like so overwhelming to be even kids saying that. I'm like, oh my God, like it's because obviously you don't think of yourself that way ever. And so when you have someone saying these things, you're like, well, I feel like I got a little bit of a responsibility now though. Like it comes, so it's a little bit a weird feeling, I guess.
No, it's really amazing that, the fly fishing world sort of has, been there to sort of combine with your other experiences and just like, create that for you and be able to help other people is really cool, like.
That was what really pushed me to tell my story too. Like obviously I struggled with should I not, but I just kept going back to being like, if I was a kid and I were to hear this and see this, like it would have made a big difference. I truly believe that I would have. I still to this day be like, if I, had, I don't know, conventional fishing definitely, like I loved to do it when I was a kid, but it didn't give me the mental, like, healing, I guess. Like, I don't know, because like with fly fishing, I can go in the water, I can not say a word, and it'll feel like I just like did a session of talk therapy. Like you just get that release because you're so involved in it, and it really decompresses me, for me at least. And so if I had that as a kid, I feel like it would have helped me through some dark times. And so if it helps the kid and wants to try it now, like, oh man, that makes my day.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a great podcast, man. We've already bit off so much amazing stuff here. Like.
So, sorry, for our listeners who might not know, the Mayfly Project, it strives to mentor, foster...
Oh, yeah.
No, it's all good. Mentor...
I missed that part.
No, so do we. So, yeah, for our listeners... what is a Mayfly? It's my understanding that it's like a mentoring program for kids in the foster system to mentor them through fly fishing on the water kind of thing. Is that, am I somewhere near where?
You're pretty much spot on. And
okay, great.
So Jesse Westbrook, he's the one who started it, him and his wife, and then Caitlin Barnett is a co-founder with it. And Caitlin's out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And Jesse, I'm blanking on where he's from, but South Midwest area. But so they started it, and and it just kind of blew up. They would just reach out to group homes and say, hey, we want to take the kids in your group home out fishing, and they provide all of the gear. And so the kids don't have to do anything on their own. They just show up and be willing to learn. And you know, not everybody is going to be willing and wanting to learn how to fish. That's definitely not everybody's idea of fun.
Yeah.
So you can have some kids that just enjoy just being on the water, sitting in the water if it's hot. Some kids really get into the bug and etymology process of it, and you're just going through picking up rocks and explaining them the different life cycles of the bugs. That's sometimes what kids love, and then some kids want to catch a fish and are very competitive about it, and then other kids are just really into the cast. So you have a whole spectrum of all of these kids, and you have a group of them, and you usually have about 2 to 3 mentors, so it's not just you teaching everybody. And you kind of just split up, and each mentor has like their little thing of what they're good at, and they kind of split it up with the kids, and you just have a day on the water where, the most importantly, they're just not being they're just not being forced to talk about, you know, so what happened to you as a kid? Why are you in foster care? You get constantly, you're meeting with social workers,
Right.
and you're just constantly reminded of how shitty your life is. And so to me, that's the thing that struck me as the most intriguing thing about it, is because they're giving a space where they're with adults, but in a positive way. Like as a kid, when I struggled with it, my biggest thing was I hated adults. I didn't trust them. I didn't want to talk to them, because anytime an adult was around me, it was something negative. Like I was either having to talk about what was going on, or it was because I was like switching homes, or like something. It's always negative. And so I never had that great experience with adults as a kid, and I struggled with that a lot. And so I think that any program, to just give them a positive experience, to not have to think about it and just enjoy it, is the biggest.
What were some of the things about it that, like, when you got into fly fishing, that kind of helped you the most? Like, what did you find when you first started fly fishing? Like, what were some of the aspects?
I mean, the biggest one was just that it helped me with, I struggle still to this day with anxiety really bad, and I can get caught. I'm a huge overthinker, constantly worrying, and constantly like that worry rat person. And so fishing and dirt biking are the 2 things I've ended in my entire life that have turned my brain off. Like when I'm fishing, I'm constantly like reading the water, you know, looking at my flies. I'm only thinking about what I'm presently doing. And in this day, it's so hard to be present anytime. Like we live in such busy life. We're constantly thinking about like, did I do this? Oh, this isn't done. I need to get this done. And then you're going from spot to spot to spot, and your brain is just scattered. And fishing just turns that off and lets me just chill out. And also like when I'm just struggling with the issues, like if something comes up and I am having some mental issues and I can't process it, fishing helps me just chill and relax and realize that, you know, sometimes you don't figure stuff out. Sometimes you just got to let things unfold in life and let it figure out for itself. But for me, I just have the personality where I need to know what's going to happen. And so fishing lets me just chill out. And same with dirt biking. Like when I'm on a trail, I can't think about anything else or I will die. So
Fair.
So those are the 2 things that I'm lucky enough. I'm just glad I found it. I mean, there's it's crazy, but there's people out there that they haven't found that they don't know what they can do to help them. And for example, my sister is one of them, and you know, she had the same life as me growing up. We lived together, so I know what she's been through, and I know that she struggles. But she's someone who, she doesn't have an outlet. She doesn't have anything she enjoys. She's still trying to find out what her hobby is in life, and so it says a lot. I mean, it's something to remind yourself about too, to feel just really appreciated that you found something that helps you and you enjoy it, because not everybody finds that.
Yeah.
Something to appreciate, and I feel like people don't.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%. A lot of people don't. It's amazing that you had both dirt biking and fly fishing. I mean, I get dirt biking, like, for sure, is a similar sort of thing. I actually grew up dirt biking and fly fishing, too. And dirt biking is...
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's totally like that similar outlet where you're just like, it's like a relaxing thing, you know, especially riding trails. It's just like, it's chill. So I totally get what you mean.
And they're both a little bit like, I mean, they're not a little bit. They're both very challenging. And just me, I like a challenge always. Yeah. I can be a little bit competitive with myself, where if I don't do something exactly right, sometimes I'm a little hard on myself. And so, but I try to keep it in a healthy way. But fishing and dirt biking are both things that you constantly want to be improving on from the last time you go out.
Yeah.
So that means your flies are perfectly tied.
Yeah. Did you say if your flies are perfectly tied?
Yeah.
Perfectly tied.
You're a perfectionist. I can relate.
Yes, I was when I first. Oh man, my first fly I ever tied at Bob Mitchell's. He was like, "All right, we're gonna start with the Prince nymph," and it was like size 22, and I was getting so pissed with the wings. I was like trying to have the wings perfectly like symmetrical. Like I was like measuring with my fingernails to put them apart, and he's like, "They don't have to be perfect. Calm down." I was like, "Nope, they do." I was like, "This is not a good fly for me to start with."
Such a small fly. Yeah, seriously.
So
I was ready to throw that vine. I was getting so frustrated. But then once I completed it and I like sat through it all and did it all, I was like so stoked. But
do you feel like tying flies keeps you in the present moment as well, just like how you would be on the river?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think of like an artistic brain. I mean, their releases through their creativity and their art, and I kind of get that same sensation with tying flies. You're creating something with your hands, and when the outcome of it is something that you created, and then obviously when you catch a fish on that fly, it's full circle effect. But yeah, when I'm tying flies, it's definitely I have to I feel like I can get more distracted with that. It's easier to step away and get pulled away, or your phone can pull you away. So I do struggle sometimes with that. Whereas when I'm on the water or on my dirt bike, there's no distractions. I'm fully present.
Fully
so
submersed.
fly tying does still
immersed.
have its perks, though. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. I love fly tying. I need to do more fly tying. Like I'm so behind on my fly tying.
Man, my fingers are tired of tying flies.
Yeah.
Shitty weather for.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's so true. It's been cold here. I should be at the vise the whole time. So you started fly fishing, and you fell in love with it and fly tying. Where did you go from there?
So then I was 24 and I moved to Oregon. I just packed up my car and quit my job and I moved.
Wow.
And
Sounds like somebody we
I got
know.
to Montana and I called my dad and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I moving? And he's like, you can move back if it sucks. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm gonna go still. So yeah, and it was, and when I moved here, I didn't know a single other person other than Casey who moved here with me, and he's from Arizona, and so it sucked. I hated it, to be honest. It's the worst. I didn't know any of the fishing spots here, and I'm not one to ask, and so we spent so many times going to rivers that maybe didn't even have fish. I don't know, and so we struggled the first year of just trying to find good water to fish, and both of us have so kind of ADD, so we'll fish a river and then we'll be like, okay, well, we're not going to go there. We're going to find a new one. There's so much water. Let's just keep going to new rivers. So we never learned one body of water. We just kept going to new water. And so I think in retrospect, if we would have just learned maybe 2 rivers and just, had those under our belt, then ventured out more, maybe we would have had better luck with steelhead. But we had the steelhead bug when we moved here, and we were like, we're going to get one. And then 4 years, Casey still hasn't got one, and he's been fly fishing since he's 7. He's an incredible angler, and I finally got 2 this year, and we both were swinging. Not saying that it's not doable, it is, but we definitely were setting ourselves up the hardest way to do it.
So what was your process? You moved to Portland, you're like, let's go fishing. How did you decide to go about finding a spot?
Just Google Maps is great, let me tell you. Google Earth Maps, we would fully just, I remember when we first moved, we only dated for 4 months when I moved here, which is insane. Don't ever move in with someone after 4 months. I do not recommend it. I moved across, I'm fucking crazy. Who does that?
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, this long distance is going great. Let's move in together now. That's a good way to start a relationship. And then,
but it was.
So we did. It worked. We both are pretty fishy people, so you can find a lot on the internet. There'll be. I've caught myself a couple times zooming in on someone's post, I recognize that log. We're all nerds in the end. If you fish, you're a nerd. It's just there's no getting around it.
It's true. You're right. 100%. Yelma's shaking his head no, but he's the biggest nerd of us all, man.
Yeah, he's He's a huge nerd. He might be the best dressed, but he's a huge nerd.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we won't let anyone know, but
Yeah.
secretly.
So you got a steelhead though when you started fishing down there, eh? Or how long
Just
did it take
this
you
year,
before?
yeah.
Just this year?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I forgot. Technically, I lost 2 steelhead before I landed my 2 this year.
Yeah.
So I never spay casted until I moved here, and so I went to the Sandy River and I was just like practicing, and I actually found spay casting. I picked it up faster than I did single hand casting, and I think it was just because I didn't have anything to relate it to. Like single hand casting, if you grew up with a conventional rod, I was over muscling my single hand cast when I first started to fly fish, and so when I started to spay cast, it was so new where like the steps just made sense. I was just like, all right, I'm gonna do set, sweeps, D-loop, go, and like I just kept saying it in my head, and I would just literally go sweep, shoot, like so that I had the timing right, and it worked for me. I mean, I was not great when I first started out, but I was getting line out. So the very first time I ever spay casted, I went to the Nehalem River, and I fucking hooked into my first steelhead, and I was the first time spay casting, first time steelhead fishing. It was 1 p.m. on January 3rd, 2015. I still remember it, or 2016, sorry. And I literally was like, what? It's like, there's a video of me freaking out, screaming, and then on the video I can just see exactly what I did wrong now, but I just let too much slack on my line and it came unbuttoned. But we tailed it probably 7 times. We didn't have a net. And so we tailed it 7 times, and so every time I was like, oh, okay, this is it. And then he let it go, and the 7th one, you see the tip of my rod just go a little bit down, and you see the slack loop.
Yeah.
And that's when it came unbuttoned, and I'm like, and it's funny, it's so funny how you'll still remember the fish you lose. It's the silliest thing ever.
I know you.
But I just got super lucky though. I was getting enough line out, and I was, swinging the hobo spay fly, but I still wasn't. First time I ever had a fish on a spay rod, it felt insane to me. It was so new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
But yeah, I got lucky, and then 3 years later, I finally landed 2.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
Which is awesome. But steelhead fishing, it burns you out. You get burnt out.
Totally.
I mean, Yilma just caught his first steelhead. This episode is airing June 1st, but it's the middle of May right now. We just got back from a river around here called the Maitland, and Yilma, it's been what, Yilma, 4 years, 4 or 5 years?
About 5 years.
5 years,
yeah.
and he just got his first Southern Ontario
so you
steelhead.
understand.
Yeah, I understand now that I've caught one. I just thought that I didn't know what I was doing. But then I took a little puff of some sativa that we're calling Tangerine Dream over here, and I don't know, it just put me in the zone.
He got baked and caught a steelhead.
Yeah, basically, you were.
No, you guys are freaking killing me. So the 2 steelhead I've gotten, I was so stoned. And now I'm convinced that's the only way I can catch one now. Holy shit, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to tell Casey that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found out how to catch a steelhead. All right, listeners, all you gotta do, let me tell you.
Go pick up some bud. Amazing.
That's so great. Now I'm actually more convinced, though, that it's true.
I think so. I mean, the only time that I smoked for steelhead is the time that I caught.
You definitely get into...
That was the only time, too. That was literally the only 2 times I've ever fishing. I never have fishing. And I'm not against it by any means, but I usually just go to bed when I do.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I mean, you always want to be in the present moment, and to be honest, we had a great guide, Ian Troop, and it was just a good time. So perfect time to just do a little puff, and then I literally 5 minutes later, at the end of the swing.
Oh my God!
And I'll always remember that roll, and I'll always remember that hit.
Yes.
It was
that is so great. I can.
Yeah.
I mean, this has just further made me just always smoke weed when I steal a fish now. It's just solidified things for me.
It definitely gets you in a swing zen mode. You're just you pick up your cat. I've hit enough fish, not landed them, but I've hit enough fish on at the end of the swing, where I'm like, man, I definitely sometimes pull up my and reset too quickly, you know. And
Yeah.
when I was baked, I'm like, that wasn't happening at all, because I'd like let it dangle while I grabbed another handful of chips or something.
Dude, the dangle, I'm telling you.
The dangle's
I call it
magic,
the
man.
deadly dangle.
It's
The
magic,
deadly
man.
dangle. They'll get it.
Definitely dangle. So true.
Yeah, it was Yilma's first time on a drift boat too. There aren't a
Yeah.
whole ton of rivers that we can, you know, drift around here. So when we get on some big water, it's really nice, you know. And
Yeah.
and so we were on a drift boat for the day. It's just not the same as like, it's not as prevalent as like out west, you know, people drifting.
Yes.
We definitely have a lot of rivers you can float. Like a canoe would be good, a watermaster would be perfect, but drift boat not so much. But the Maitland is a river that you can definitely drift in. So Yilma's first time on the Maitland in a drift boat, and the first steelhead, boom.
Yeah, it was incredible. I'll always remember
so
that.
awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And I
Those
was
are
like,
just the times you'll never forget too.
Yeah.
It's just so great.
it was also like a freakish day. It was like 25 degrees, which
Yeah.
I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it was hot.
Yeah.
It was hot, full sun, and yeah, beautiful silver steelhead.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
72.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was awesome. Yeah, so
What do you remember? So your first steelhead. What were you feeling like when you caught that first one?
Oh my God, this is good. So we went to the Grand Run. So my first field was a summer run, and then my second one was a winter run. And so it is October. We went to the Grand Run, which is like famously known for being able to like skate flies, and that the steelhead come up for some reason way more there than they do anywhere else.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so it was our first time going there, and it's like a long drive. It's like 5-6 hours from Portland to get there. And so we drive there, and we stopped at a river on the way in. I caught my first bull trout. So I was feeling
man.
good. I was like, all right, checked another species off the list.
Yeah.
Steelhead, here I come. We get to the river, and it's me, Casey, and our dog Juniper, and we roll up, and it's at night, and so we were trying to find a camp spot with the van. It was so packed, we literally couldn't find anywhere at the park. So we parked on the side of the dirt road and just slept in the van. Woke up the next day, and people are literally in line on the bank,
Oh my
like
God.
standing in the legit line to swing the run.
What?
When someone comes out, then someone pops in. And Casey, if you ever met him, he, not a chance in hell he will fish with that many people.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I, on the other hand, was like, dude, we just drove 6 hours and we're just going to turn back and go home. I was like, what? I was like, I get it that it's busy, but I was like, we just drove 6 hours.
Yeah.
I was like, we can't go home. And then our buddy, Eric, he's a guide on there, on the river, and he was just like, trust me, he's like, you can get fish after people have fished it all day. And so he's trying to convince us to stay. And I was like, I'm with you. I want to stay and try it. We drove all this way. You might as well. And it's beautiful out there too. So regardless, it's so pretty still. So we're leaving. We're literally like driving away from the river. And I'm just like sitting in silent because I'm like, I can't believe we're leaving. Like, this is ridiculous. And so then like we were literally about to like almost gone now, like to get on the main road to go back towards Portland. And I was like, whoa, I was like, just pull over for a second. Let's think about this. And I like did the whole like, are we really going to leave? And Casey's like, I mean, if you want, you sound like you want to stay. So he's like kind of crabby. He's like, let's just stay then. So I was like, cool. All right. So then we drive back, turn around, and we get back, and we actually happen to find a camping spot where our buddy Eric told us to camp. And so I was like, well, this is a sign. I'm a fucking girl. We are superstitious. And so I was like, it's a sign. It's going to be great. And so we like set up the thing, and I immediately I'm like putting on my waders. I was like, it's 3 o'clock. We can still like get a run in. And there was no one in the run at the time. And so I let Casey go in first because he was skating and I was going to swing. And so we fished it all the way to we couldn't see. And so he's out of the water in the bank waiting for me to come back. And we fished it so hard. Like, it was so dark, pitch black. Like, we fished it way later than we should have. But we just tried. So then we went to bed and we were like, well, that sucked. And we wake up the next day, and these old men, they've been camping there for a month, and they've been coming to this river, they said, for the last like 30 years pretty much.
Wow.
And so they've been there for a month, and he was like, none of us have caught a single fish this entire month. And I was like, what? A month? And you guys have been fishing it every day? And he's like, He's like, yeah, pretty much. It's been some shitty weather, and then we didn't. And they have like a big canvas, huge tent with like a fire pit in it. They were set up, and
That's pretty rad
and
setup.
so he was like, he's like, we're actually gonna leave today because it's been so crappy. And so then I was like, okay, well, don't tell Casey any of this news because he's gonna leave if he hears this. And so they leave, and somebody else pulls in, and we fished that morning, came back, and we're getting lunch, and these two older guys from Whitefish, Montana pulled in, and I can't believe I'm remembering all this. I usually have such a bad memory, but so he pulls in, and he was like, okay, what are you guys doing? Like, what do you got? Like, let me see your flies. I'm like, who is this guy? And so he's like, let me show you my flies. And he opens up his box. His fly box is like covered with dollar bills that are like epoxied onto this fly box.
What the
And
hell?
he opens it, and it's like the most organized box I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And he's like, pick one out, anyone you want. And I picked one that looked like it looked like something I would fish a coastal river for. It was like bright blue and like a hot pink spot on it. And so I was like, well, this looks familiar, so I'm gonna grab this one.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. And so I tied that one on, and we fished the run, and we didn't catch anything. And then we went to the side of they were sitting on the bank on the log, and we were just like sitting there, and we're like, well, this riffle down here is supposed to be good. And I had my pen on me, and so we both took a hit on the pen, and so then we get to the next run, and I was like, you go ahead, like, because I was just being nice and letting Casey go. And he's like, no. He's like, no, you let me fish first last time, so you go this one. And so I was like, all right. And I even said, are you sure? And he's like, yep. And so I went in, and it was like, how do I explain it? So I started like way higher than I normally would on a run too. So it was kind of shallow water, but it was extreme drop off, like huge drop off. And I was fishing a heavy sink tip. I think I had T11 on. It might have been T14, but
Damn.
anyways, I'm letting it. Yeah, and so it was really deep. It was like I'm really bad with depths, but it was huge. It was like a granite shelf that you could walk on and be like shin deep in water, and then it was just an extreme drop, and with the water pooling in. And so I was pretty much fishing just that short little drop. It was like really, really short, like just a few casts, and I'd be done with the run. And so it was my second cast in, and I remember I was high, and I made a shitty cast, and I turned around, and I started laughing to Casey, like, did you just see that type of thing? And he was just like, just fish it. And literally as soon as he said, just fish it, we both just see my rod tag go, vroom, 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 and then my reel just goes, vroom, and I was like, oh my God. On the video, I just literally am saying, this isn't real. That's what the video says the whole time. And I'm just high out of my mind, just being like, what's the... And Casey's all like, back up, because literally if I take one step, I'm like falling off of this cliff. I was so close.
Oh, man.
And this fish was just whipping my ass. It was jumping, it was cartwheeling, and I was screaming my head off. The poor dude at the end of the run was on the other side of the river. Like, he was probably just like, get this girl out of here, because I was losing my shit. It was my first deal, and I was freaking out.
Yeah,
I
fair
couldn't
enough.
believe it. Yeah, and it was, we're pretty sure that it was like a fish that normally would go to the Clearwater River, because the Grand Ronde is not known for getting bigger steelhead, but this fish was, God, it was huge. We didn't measure it or anything, but it was a nice sized fish for my first one. It was
That's
incredible.
So good. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was I couldn't have. And then I was like, all right, Casey, you can fish it now.
And it was on. Did you say it was on that fly that Mystery Man gave you?
Yes, it was. It was so
Crazy.
cool. So I came back, and we had to leave that night, and so I waited for him to come back, and so I wrote a letter, and I put it on his windshield, and I was like, sorry, I'm gonna keep your fly. It's getting retired. I was like, it worked. It caught me a fish. Thank you. And I like sent him a note, but. Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it. It was awesome.
So good. That's such a good story. First steelhead.
Yeah, man. First one. That was awesome.
That's awesome. I'm just looking at your feed right now. Is it the one where you're like, kind of like, just like laughing hysterically at the camera?
Well, that might be any photo you find on my feed.
Oh, right. Sorry. You're holding this you're holding this massive steelhead, and there's like
yes,
high
it's
grass.
It's gonna be like the one that. Yes, it's like looks like a high desert area in the background, and it's like super like sunset type of sunny.
You're wearing a wide brimmed hat kind of thing.
Yep.
That fish is
That
crazy.
fish is crazy.
Yeah,
fish
it was
is wild.
incredible, and it put up such a good fight. It was so fun.
Gnarly fish. Oh my god.
Yep.
Oh wow! I'm sorry, I'm seeing it for the first time. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I was blown away. I just stood there for a moment afterwards. I was like, I can't believe that just happened.
That's insane.
Yeah,
That's
seriously.
such a nice fish.
Such a nice fish.
Oh, and for those of you at home, you can check it out on Instagram at Kayla_Lockhart. It's an insanely nice fish. Check it out. Amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun day for sure. Never forget that.
So now, how do you occupy, in fly fishing? Like, I mean, you work in the Mayfly Project, which is awesome. And then what else do you do? You don't guide, but you do hosted trips and stuff like that too?
I have, I don't have my guide license. I've been on the fence whether or not I want to pull the trigger on that and make what I love a job or not. But, I do teach, I teach clinics as much as I can, like casting clinics, I'll do fly tying clinics and stuff like that, just to have a community in Portland of people, so to help people that are new and stuff. But I've done hosted trips to Mexico. I'm going to be doing more in the future to other destinations, but pretty much Ascension Bay is the one that I've been doing for the last couple of years, which I absolutely love. And it's just, that place is the most incredible place to be. I want to figure out a way I could just freaking move there for at least a winter.
Yeah, seriously. Is there a good fly fishing community in Portland, or is it more of a steelhead community?
I don't know if it's just because Minnesota's home, but Minnesota, that community will always be like the best to me. And I was very, very fortunate where, some girls, they experienced like some negativity of going to the fly shop, and their first experience weren't as great as mine were. Or like when people tell me the stories, I'm like, actually, I had a great experience the first time I started fly fishing. Like Robbie at Bob Mitchell, he was just like, he taught me everything and was so eager to help me and like hooked me up with everything I needed and never made me feel like stupid ever, and was just so incredibly helpful. And I'm not gonna lie, there's some fly shops where I walk into in Oregon, and there's just a lot more people that fish here than Minnesota as far as fly fishing goes. It's a larger community here, and you do run into like the people that are just there's bigger egos here for sure, and so there. But the community it could be better. I'm not gonna lie, it could be better, but it's pretty good. We just got a new fly shop, which is the Portland Fly Shop, and they've been here for over a year, and they've been doing like nightly things where it's in the winter. It's nice to just have somewhere to go and drink the beers and hang out, and that has made me introduced to a lot of anglers here that I never would have met probably. Mm-hmm. But it could be better though, always.
Yeah, for sure. But that's cool that there's like a new shop and they're trying to build community build, and sounds like you're trying to help community build as well, which is it's always important. Right?
That's the thing, is the community is the biggest aspect. Is if that fly shop gives people like somewhere to go, which is nice, and they do fly tie nights. That it's just nice when you can just go and chill and hang out and like swap stories and actually get to know people, and it's not like, oh, I'm a fisherman, you're a fisherman. Yeah. Oh, like I hate that shit.
Who's better at this and that?
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, it's like a big dick contest.
Totally. I don't understand why. It's so weird.
It is so weird. I don't understand it, but whatever.
Yeah. So you've gone on some pretty gnarly trips this year so far, eh?
Yes. I went to Colombia, and that was incredible. And I kind of just went over Oregon as much as I could, and I was in Arizona a little bit in January, and we fished the Grand Canyon there, which is like one of my favorite spots. Lee's Ferry.
Lee's Ferry. I fished Lee's Ferry. It's so cool.
It's so beautiful, and we brought the trout spays when we went. And,
yes.
Oh my god, it was so much fun.
I was there, and I was like,
the trout spays.
fuck, I really wish I had my spay rod here because it's huge.
It was, and yeah, it's a lot of water, and I'm not, that trout spay killed it. There's people fishing, like indicators or with their, or however, any other way. And me and Casey were just peeling it, and they were like, "What are you using?" And I'm like, "Just a little sculpin pattern, like nothing special." And we were doing so well, and it started snowing on us, which is just really beautiful, though.
Snowing in the Grand Canyon, yeah.
Yeah,
it's so
it was,
cool. The colors there are insane. Like the water's like emerald green.
So insane.
And the walls of the
so
walls of the canyon are like red, like Mars or something, or what I imagine Mars to look like.
Exactly. And to me, like, I'm from Minnesota. Like, we have the desert still is like something that I freak out over. And that's where, and Casey's from there. Like, he grew up fishing Lee's Ferry since he was 7. And I was like, you're so lucky. It's so beautiful here. And so he's a little more jaded than I am. And but it's that place is just incredible.
Lee's Ferry is wild. Put that. If you're going through Arizona, you got to try that out for sure.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, but I think you're right.
Yeah, so we went there. Yeah.
Columbia too. Jeez, Columbia's like.
Columbia was awesome, and that was camping in the jungle, which was crazy.
That's insane.
Quite big. Yeah, it was life changing. The people were amazing. The tribe down there was just the most incredible people I've ever met. I absolutely loved it. It was definitely roughing it. Like, that was probably the gnarliest fishing trip I've ever been on.
Yeah. How long were you down for?
11 days of camping.
Wow.
Like, and I was the only girl there, and so not that matters, but it did a little bit just because they didn't speak any English, and I can get by with Spanish. I could be better, but there's definitely a lot of times where I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying right now, but
man.
Okay, I won't pee right here. Sorry.
And how was the fishing down there?
It was so good. It was really, really hard work, though. I don't think I've ever experienced that hard of fishing before. I mean, not to mention just the conditions. Like, the bugs were insane. They wanted to crawl in every single hole. They wanted to crawl into your eyeballs. Like, it was just constant bugs on you all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like 110 with severe humidity, and so it was hot as fuck. I got sun poisoning.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it was just
Yilma just got
long
stressed
days,
out.
too.
Yilma just got stressed out listening to that.
I literally sat back in my chair.
It was hard work. And the guide, like, he's not used to fishing with fly fishermen, and so it was a lot of work, like, trying to translate, how I wanted the boat to be angled and where I wanted him to position me to make a cast from the boat. And we were fishing a river that was, it was like the Nile River, the Amazon River. It's the third largest river in the world, and it was, the rapids were, like, some of the stuff we went over, I was like, I'm going to die right now. I was like, I'm going to die right now. It was gnarly. And then he would, like, he'd have the boat engine on. He'd be like, all right, cast. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, we're literally, like, in the craziest, fastest water I've ever seen in my entire life, and you want me to make a cast? I was like, all right.
That's insane.
But it was insane, and I learned so much, which is cool. And it was the hardest part for me was fishing a species I've never fished before. I tried to do as much research as I could possible, but then not being able to communicate with my guide because he didn't speak English, and then just the conditions. And so, like, all of that combined, I worked my ass off. But I caught all the fish I went there to catch, so there's no complaints on my end. It was incredible. The fishing was, it was nice because it was like fishing waters that don't see a fly often, which is always fun. So that was incredible.
What were the species?
Payara, which is the vampire fish.
Right, yeah.
And then peacock bass, and there's 4 species of that.
Oh, yeah.
I caught 3 of the 4 species, and so I was like,
oh, wow.
I really wanted to catch all of them, but I went back, and Simone was the one person that spoke English, so he's kind of like the camp coordinator, and he would help if we needed to translate stuff to our guides like the next day. But so I came back, and I was like, oh, I caught 3. He's like, I just can't catch this one. He's like, Kayla, I've been fishing here my whole life. I've caught one of that species,
Whoa.
and I work here. I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better now.
Yeah, seriously.
And he was fishing with gear too, and I was like,
wow.
and then the sardinita, which is the golden tarpon, and is their nickname.
The golden
and
tarpon.
They fight to me they fight better than a tarpon because they jump just like a tarpon, but they also run like a bonefish. So they go fucking far. They just zip line out of you, and then they're cartwheeling the whole way down. But
Jeez.
yeah, it was some intense. It was fun. It was some of the best fighting fish I've ever experienced on fly rod. It was incredible.
That's so rad.
Sounds
And
amazing.
then
And then you caught
that
you
was
slammed
amazing.
that huge permit.
Fuck! Oh my god, that one takes the cake. I will gladly give away every fish I've ever caught to just catch that one fish. That was the most incredible. I can't my smiling ear to ear just thinking about it because even just thinking about it is like it was so incredible.
Whereabouts was that?
So we were in Ascension Bay, in Punta Allen, Mexico, which is Ascension Bay Lodge, and we
Sorry, I just saw
for
I just saw a
3
picture
days.
of this thing on your
I just
Instagram.
showed Mitch a picture.
Dude,
This is the biggest
Yo, look
permit.
at this thing.
fucked, right?
Holy
Yeah, that's the
shit.
biggest permit I've ever seen.
That's like a giant Jack
literally,
Chevalier.
the guide, he won. The guide I had, he won the permit tournament that the city does,
Yeah.
or their town. I shouldn't call it a city; it's a town. But he won it that year, and I caught my permit, and I didn't see how big it was when I first hooked into it. Like,
Yeah.
I knew it was a good size one. Obviously, it took off, but I had no idea the amount of mass this permit had.
Yeah.
And it took me just under an hour to land it. And I'll get
Jeez.
to the fight in a minute because
Yeah.
the fight was just bonkers.
Yeah.
But after I landed it, the guide was I was kind of in shock still, and I didn't know how rare it was to catch a huge permit, so that didn't set in. But he was like, I haven't seen a fish this big in years on here, and I was like, what? And I was just freaking out. He's like, this is an incredible fish, and I was like, I just didn't really grasp how big of a deal it was. I mean, I knew it was a big deal, but to them, it was a really big deal.
Yeah.
Just because they don't run into the permit that big there in a long time, but so the first day I got to Punta Allen, I caught a permit, but it was a small one. It wasn't anything crazy small, but it wasn't big. But it was my first one. So to me, I was on cloud 9. I was like, all right, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm good. It's my first permit I ever caught. I didn't even think that I was gonna catch one, to be honest, because I tried 2 times prior on my 2 previous trips, and it was just me standing on the boat searching for 4 hours, being like, yeah. Cool, they're not here. Or if they did show up, I'd be like, oh, all right, I'm going to cast. Ready? Okay, I'm going to go. Oh, and it's gone. I'm like, God damn it. So that's usually how permit fishing goes. It's so fucked. And then that first day, when I caught the smaller one, we were just eating lunch. I was 3 beers in. I was hosting, so I had a girl that was, she was not new to fishing, but she was novice, I would say. And so I was she never caught a bonefish. I was like, just put her on a bonefish. I'm good. I'll be chilling on the boat. And so we just stopped for lunch. And then Danny, my guide that first day, was like, holy shit, there's palometa, and a brom, didn't even think twice. Set a sandwich down, jumps in the water. He grabs my rod. He already has 40 feet of line out. They're, swear to God, these guys are magicians. And he's like, let's go. And I jump in, and it's tits deep in water. He's just gliding through it like they always do. And so he's like, make a cast. And I make a cast, and I immediately was like, I casted too far, but I thought I casted behind the fish.
Yeah.
And he was like, leave it. And when they say that, oh my God, it gives me anxiety. I want to sit on my hands because to not strip is so hard after you make a cast. I just want to strip so bad. And so he's like, leave it in my hands, shaking. I was like, I just want to strip it. And so then he's like, strip. And I was like, okay, I make one long crab strip, and the fucking thing was on, and I caught that first small one, and I was like, all right, that's it, I'm gonna be done.
Yeah.
And then 4 days later is when it was I think it was the first time me and Casey were on a boat together, because we usually don't fish together when I'm hosting, just because I don't know, I just rather go with the people. And so it just worked out that 2 people were from Minnesota and they wanted to fish together, and then these 2 other girls that met, they really liked each other and they wanted to fish together. And then it was a guy and his girlfriend, and so I was like, well, I guess me and Casey will get a day. That's nice. And so we went out, and it was like an hour went by. We didn't see a single fish, not a single one. And so we usually, like, you know, after you get like a good shot, then we switch spots. We haven't seen a single fish in an hour went by. And then they're like, okay, we're going to check one more spot. And I was like, all right, well, let's just check this. And then Casey, if I don't see anything, you're up. And he's like, sounds good. So we go to this next spot, and maybe like 20 minutes of being there, they see a fish. And so Luis, with a different guy, Luis gets out of the boat, and he's like, all right, let's go. And you kind of get the drill. Like, as soon as you kind of watch there and follow suit, whatever they're doing. So I see him getting out, so I'm already getting in the water. And we're, like, trying to, like, run to the permit because it's moving. And you go from, like, so tranquil, like, it's silent on the boat, you're just searching, to, like, full chaos. Literally, that's how it feels. Because they'll be like, you don't see a thing. And then all of a sudden they find it, and they're like, okay, let's go. Run. And it's just, like, chaos. And so we're running out of the boat, and he's holding my fly rod, and I'm just, like, treading water. And I, like, actually reach out to him because I was like, dude, I cannot keep up with you. So he's grabbing my arm and, like, pulling me as he's walking to, like, keep too freaking slow. And he's like 6 feet tall, and I'm 5'4". So I needed some help. And so we get close to the permit, and I am so low to the water, and there's a glare on it. I can see the shadow of the fish, but I can't make out which way its head is. So I'm trying to wait to see if the shadow moves while he's pointing my rod to where it is. I'm like, yep, I see it. And he's like, just cast. And I was like, okay. So I make a cast, and I cast it on its side. So it's swimming from towards the left. And so I cast it right at its side. And so now that we know that it's swimming left, he tells me to pick it up and shoot again. So I pick up, make another shoot, and I got it in front of his face and just ahead of it. And so I make a strip to get it to pretty much meet the fish. And I think I only made 2 or 3 strips, and then the fish was on, and it slammed my fly.
Oh, man.
It slammed it. It was insane, and then it just took off. And that's when I kind of had idea, like, how big it was. But the fish went, and it ran away from us, and it ran past the boat that Casey and Pedro were on, and Pedro's on the skiff, and he's, like, on the platform, and so he can see the fish, and he was like, fuck. He's like, he just starts going off, and so I was like, it must be pretty good. And then it went so far out, like, it was almost off of the flat, like, to the blue water. And I'm almost out of my backing, and I had like 300 yards. I had so much backing on this reel because I had that one specifically for the saltwater. And so, you know, I'm fighting it. I'm trying to reel it in, and it's pulling out, and like 30 minutes go by, and I get back to my backing for like the 3rd time or 4th time at that point of going back and forth. And the last time is I'm reeling it in. The fish is kind of calming down, so I'm like trying to like keep control of it. So I'm reeling down, and all of a sudden I see my backing all lining up on the left side of the spool, and I'm like getting a little nervous because it's all on one side, and I'm like, this is gonna be bad. And like I'm like, what do I do? I can't just pull the line out and create slack. I was like, I'm too afraid that I'll like lose the fish and create slack or like not control the line. And so I'm like, Casey, like, fucking look at my backing. It's all rolling on the left. Like, what do I do? And he's like, just fight the fish. Calm down. It's gonna be fine. And I was like, no, it's not gonna be fucking fine. I was like, I'm freaking out. And so I was like, he's like, just it's gonna be fine. I was like, all right. I was like, okay, if you say so. And I remember I said it like super condescending like that too, like, all right.
Yeah.
And so then I like reeled my fly line in, and it's all to the right side, and then all of a sudden, all of my backing just collapses super loosely on top of my fly line.
Oh my god!
And the fish is kind of chilling at this point. So I was like, okay, well, he's not moving. But in my brain I was saying that, but out loud I was saying, fuck.
Yeah.
That's all I was saying. And so Casey looks, and he's like, he literally didn't even know what to say. He was like, because he knew this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. And he literally didn't know what to say. So I just go, Luis, what do I do? And Luis turns around, and his face, I was just like, okay, well, that doesn't look great. Like, I don't know what to do now. And then, like, that all happened within, like, a few seconds of our reactions. And then, like, before we could even process what to do, the fish started running.
Oh, God.
And then the line stopped because it tangled all together.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed my fly line, and I ripped it out as much and as hard as I could. I'm just pulling line out to give the fish something to work with.
Jesus.
So I just pull out as much as I can, and, like, I'm tightening the backing lots down into the reel, though, by doing this, which is not great, but I didn't know what else to do. I had to give the fish something or it's going to snap my line.
Yeah.
I only had 16-pound test on, so it wasn't anything crazy, but that fish was 29, 28 pounds. It was insane. And so we get some, like I let the fish run with what I pulled out. So then I'm holding the fly line with my left hand, holding the cork of my rod with my right, keeping the rod up and holding the tension with the line. Yeah. And then Luis just fucking, with no questions asked, pops my reel off, like not completely off so all the line doesn't fall out, but he just slides it off enough so that he can work with it. And so then he pulls the line out, and he's just untangling knots like the fastest I've ever seen anybody. I'll have to send you guys the video. I have the video of it. It's
that'd be awesome.
Watching this guy untangle knots like it was nothing. I don't know if you've ever, like, even just, I've, like, had, like, a regular, like, just a loop knot with my fly, and I'm like, fuck this, I'm cutting it off and retying. Yeah. This guy was, like, untying shit like it was nothing. I was, like, blown away. So
while there's a 30-pound permit on your
yeah, and so he's also, like, feeding me a little bit of slack, and so I'm holding. I mean, but if I would have accidentally, like, let go of my fly line, I would have been. I mean, I maybe the fly would have came undone and I would have been fine, but chances not that likely. So I was, like, so scared because the fish is pulling line out of my hand, and I don't know if you've ever, like, had a fish do that before, but, like, when you're gripping it, it's never, like, a smooth. It's like it, like, pulls out in, like, sections of your line. So I'm, like, trying to, like, let it be smooth, but it's just jerking it really out of my hand. Yeah. And so I was like, well, it was an epic fight. I was already like, there's no way I'm going to land it after this. There's no way. I was like, and so he finally gets it all untangled, pops my thing back in. And so then I'm still holding the line of my rod in both hands, and he's reeling all of that backing all the way back up. And as soon as he, like, fully reels it all the way so that it's spooled back up, is the exact time that the fish jumps out of the water. Like, I've never seen a permit jump, which just blows my mind, and just started peeling line out. And I was like, holy shit, that could not have been better timing. Yeah. And I was just, like, ready to kiss this guy. He's amazing. And so then we fought it for, I can't remember it. It wasn't that much longer, though. It was pretty tired. Like, if the fish was not as tired it was, there's no way I would have landed it with that happening. I don't think, at least. Maybe I'm lucky enough, but we were lucky that the fish only had, like, that 1.5 more runs in it. But then after that, he did, like, his last run pretty much, and then Luis, he, like, walked out towards it, and he tailed it the first time, and Luis actually sprained his wrist, like, a month before, and so when he grabbed the fish's tail, it like, tried to swim away so hard that, like, he'd let go because it hurt his wrist so bad. God. And at that point, though, I was like, oh shit, we just lost it. Like, whenever you have someone tailing your fish, you always are like, they're losing it.
Yeah,
this guy's gonna
100%.
lose that fish. You always think that.
Every
it's
time.
So funny. But then he grabbed it a second time, and he just lifted it out of the water, and that was the first time I saw, like, it as big as half of his body, and he's 6 feet tall, and I was like, oh my God. And I was just like, I, like, had no words. My mouth was just dropped. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's a huge fish.
Yeah, dude, the guys, I've never seen them so excited. I was like, damn, that's sick. I was like, you catch a bonefish, and they're like, all right, next spot. Like, this is, like, the first time they're like, oh, can I take one with my phone? And I was like, fuck yeah, you can.
So good.
Oh, man, it was insane. Yeah, it was an epic battle. It was so good. I took way too many shots of tequila after that one.
Yeah.
So, Factor Fishy is a segment that I have introduced. to the podcast where I tell stories that could be true or could be false. Hence the name Fact or Fishy, and then it's your task to guess which ones are false and which ones are true.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's you and the crew here because no one knows actually. It's just
we don't
only
see
I
them.
do.
Yeah, we don't see them.
All
So
right,
all
so
those
what do I
know.
win?
I guess we should start with like.
We should start giving.
We'll
prizes.
send you if you get it right. We'll send
We
you.
can turn it into a drinking game, righty?
Oh, that's a good idea too.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
All right.
That's not a bad idea.
But I'll just send you some Tangerine Dream if you get it all right.
yeah.
You can mail drugs to people, right?
Well, in Canada you can.
All right, Yelma, take it away.
Okay, so this first one I'm calling, and I'm going to set up each one because in the past I've set each story up differently, and because of that I've given away whether it's false or fact. So I'm setting up each one the same, titling it each one the same. I've written them myself, so it's going to be real fucking hard. But they're really cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the first one I'm calling,
All right.
I'm calling this one The Call. Okay, so a Japanese spiritualist named Nameless was determined to find a way.
Sorry, wait. Named Nameless?
Yeah.
Okay, go on. This is fishy for sure. But anyway.
See, no, but you can't say that because I've actually written each one the same. This is the thing. I've written each one sort of like
Unanimously, like
unanimous, bad grammar.
sorry,
everything's the
anonymously,
same.
not unanimously. We need more beer.
Okay. All right. So let's start over. Fact or Fishy 1. This one's called The Call. So a Japanese spiritualist was determined to find a way to catch fish with his mind. He developed a breathing technique that would allow him to make a noise as he exhaled that would reverb at the core of the fish's body, thus prompting the fish to literally shake in its bones, jumping out of the water and into the boat.
Yelma, did you hit some of that Tangerine Dream before we started this thing?
Fact or fishy?
Some crazy shit right there, man.
Remember Sesame Street when like Ernie's like
Here, fishy,
going to
fishy,
bird
fishy.
here, fishy, 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 fishy.
Yeah.
Well, this guy
Yes.
adopted that technique into this like sort of
Fish calling.
fish
thing.
calling thing, and from the bottom of his core.
Okay.
And then when he shouted the word, he didn't say "here, fishy," but like this noise that he would come out of his mouth was so high pitched that would make the fish jump out of the water into the boat. So I digress. Fact or fishy?
Fuck. And it was a Japanese guy?
It's a Japanese spiritualist.
That's fishy for sure. It's fishy for me.
Well, I mean, they can catch fish in the craziest ways I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say fact.
I'm gonna say fact too because I think this is like just so. I think it's too clever for Yelma. Like Japanese
thanks a lot,
spiritualist.
Mitch.
It's 7:00 on like a Wednesday. Like Yelma's not coming with Japanese spiritualist. I saw him all day today. Like he's.
Oh yeah,
He doesn't have
Oh, yeah.
time for that.
Yeah.
Kayla,
Man.
Mitch and Yilma work together, so
Yeah.
they spend like 10 hours a day together, and then they do this at the end of the day together. So,
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go fishy just because you couldn't think of a name for the guy.
No, but
A Japanese,
Two
and
facts
his
and a fishy.
name is nameless.
nameless.
Okay, let's see what. Let's go one at a time then.
Okay, so Aldo.
Oh yeah, a fishy.
Fact.
Okay.
Kayla's fact.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I'm still fact.
It's still fact. Fishy guys. This
Oh,
story
wow.
is fishy.
Damn, nice, Yelma.
The nameless thing through like I was like it was over. at that point.
I hesitated because when you said that, I was like, oh, he's got a good point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Hey,
Good
okay.
story though. Good story. They're
Okay.
better. This is definitely the best version of Fact or Fishy
Yeah.
yet. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna get
Oh,
better.
I got the hardest ones. Damn it.
The hard thing is like this is keeping my mind sharp. Coming up with these
Yeah.
ideas. Or this one could be true. Let's see.
All right.
I'm calling this one "No Fly." All right, this is the story of a few friends that went out fly fishing in New Zealand on a promising river for browns. After a very trying day of nothing at the end of their line, one of their friends casted his line, but on his back cast broke off his fly in the tree. He didn't realize that he lost his fly, but to his surprise, on his retrieval, a brown was at the end of it. The brown hit his line, wrapping around it, and he then brought it to shore.
Okay.
The fish and guys, I just want everybody out there who's listening, the fish was not harmed at all.
I don't know how that's possible.
Okay? Fact or fishy?
Crazy story. What do you think, Kayla?
I'm trying to figure out how this is possible.
So
He didn't have a fly on, and it was just the line. There was
Just
no
the line.
bobber or like indicator or
Nothing.
that he would have hit.
So
I'm gonna say
he lassoed a brown trout, basically.
you ever watch River Monsters?
I mean,
And then they had
yes, I do.
Yeah, so remember what's his name? He was
Jeremy.
fishing.
Jeremy.
He was fishing with
Jeremy
like
Wade.
yeah, Jeremy Wade was fishing with like that sort of material that he learned from some of the Aboriginal part of what I don't want to sound ignorant, but anyways, and it wraps around the fish and he pulls it in, so it's like bait, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like it intertwine. You remember that episode?
Yeah.
I don't remember that episode.
No, me neither.
But,
No, me neither. That's probably because it never happened.
But you're convincing me to say fact is
Yeah.
what you're doing.
I work in advertising, so I can.
I it's tough because I know that you don't know that there's brown trout in New Zealand, so I'm gonna have to go.
What do you
with,
mean? Josh just came from.
So I'm gonna have to-
Oh,
so-
I'm getting insider details.
So I'm gonna
Nice.
go.
Yeah.
Look at him. I know how to push his buttons. He's like so mad at me right
No, I'm not. No. I do the. I also kill. I also do these sort of like weird faces that may look a little angry, but no. I didn't. I wasn't sensitive.
No, I was just making. I was making a mean-spirited joke.
You're saying
I might have
fact?
to. I might have to go fact on this one, guys.
I'm going to say fact too, honestly. I think that he's going to say, like, let's come up with details
I
after
want
this.
to say fact because
Yeah.
I want to know that there's that aggressive or brown
Yeah.
in New Zealand that they would go after just that movement. Well, I know that with their lateral line, they can feel the movement because
Yeah.
that's why they're so nocturnal. So I'm going to say fact because I could see it happening, but the fact that the guy landed it, I don't know about that. I'm going to call
Yeah,
bullshit
I don't know about-
anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
I
I'm
don't
just
know about
kidding.
I can't see how it would happen, but I think Yilma's going to come out with a detail right now if it is fact that is
Yes,
crucial to
okay,
the story.
know. Tell
Yeah.
me.
Okay, so this story is fishy.
Oh, my God.
Two fishies, guys.
You got us all?
You keep getting us. I
Wow.
don't know how you're
you
doing
keep getting
this.
us, man.
You got us twice.
Because it's sort of like I mean,
No, there's no way
You're
that
a
would
good
ever happen.
salesman.
yeah, no,
There is no
way.
way that ever happened.
Yeah.
It's just it threw me off the brown trout New Zealand thing.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, like, he hooked into, oh, surprise, there's actually a net that he had, his line got wrapped around, and there was a brown trout in it.
Yeah.
And I was going to be like, oh, great, Yilma, thanks for the...
Oh, that's actually really, really believable. Maybe I should. Okay. So the last one. I'm calling this one For the Road.
Wait, what's it called?
For the Road. I don't
Okay.
know. It's a terrible name. I just
The titles.
the titles are
The
like
titles are
the titles
just
are on the
hilarious.
fly, but the stories could be true. Okay.
Oh my god.
In 2001, a huge flood hit the Coldwater River in BC. Now, for anyone who's unaware about the Coldwater River, it's close to highways, roads, overpasses, and whatnot. And everyone knows there's no point in fishing on these days. It's a flood. There's no structure, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Well, a man by the name of Norm Holgram from Sweden saw some salmon swimming on the road in an attempt to swim downstream. It was so floody. The water levels were so high that the salmon could cross the actual highway to get to the other part of the river, to get to where they're going. Norm started targeting these fish on the road and caught his salmon from the street. Fact or fishy?
Kayla, what do you think?
Fact.
Yep, fact.
Yeah.
I've heard about this.
I mean, I know the first part is fact. I've seen videos of salmon crossing the road when a river is blown. So
Yeah.
that
I
part
have
is
never seen someone fish after them, but
yeah,
No,
exactly. I've never
I did
seen
it.
it be fit. It's like seems really mean. So Norm seems like an asshole,
totally.
but like
Yeah.
But he's just a normal guy. That's why I named him Norm, because this story is fishy.
This
Well,
is
we-
fishy?
This is fishy. Hey,
Well,
so and the
did we
Coldwater
even
River.
guess?
because his name was
Did-
Norman, I
oh,
was like,
did-
I could picture some fucking Swedish Norman and like, I'm gonna get me some dinner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And
definitely
it's funny to those out there. Honestly, I don't know whether the Coldwater River is actually close to streets. I
Wait,
just
so
made
we
that
didn't
up.
have a single fact story?
Nope. And
All
sometimes
fishy?
I do that. All fishy. You know what? Next week could be all fact. or it
Wow,
could be
he's
mixed.
tricky. He's
tricky.
Damn.
Damn.
But these
that was also my second like hunch. I was like, well, he hasn't put a fact, so this one's gotta be it.
Yeah, I know.
He
That rule
curveballed
did
us.
not
Crazy.
apply.
And that was fact
Fact or
or
fishy?
fishy.
I think it's
That was so fun. That was
it's fun.
great. I
Okay,
liked
awesome.
that.
Yay.
Nice, Emil. Nice.
Thank
I
you
also
very much,
just
guys.
super competitive though too, so I was like, I fucking better win.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna win that last. Honestly, I mean, you got it. You pulled the wool right over our eyes.
Yes,
Right.
I did.
I know.
Wow.
I know. That must feel good to know that you took
Segment.
this all.
Going back to the steelhead thing just real quick.
Yeah.
You know how you're talking about people lining up to go through a run?
Yes.
Like, I know it's crowded and I know it's like oh my God, there's so many people lining up to go. No one lines up to go on a run here. Like, in a way, that etiquette, despite the fact that there are so many people, is really cool to me.
I've never seen that
Yeah.
before. It was like
A lot of people.
Yeah.
I called it the Disneyland run because it was just insane. I was like, do I need the special wristband or what?
Yeah, but at least there was a line. Like here, if 20 people showed up to the river at the same time, they just all like elbow each other to get any kind of, you know what I mean? Like they just low hole, high hole. Like everyone's like, I've had like spoons get like casted by my ear while I'm trying to swing or run.
Yeah.
You know, like
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good etiquette at the
but
very
I mean,
least.
at the very least, even though it's so busy, I thought it was really cool that there is that etiquette to be like, okay, well, I'm next.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, I don't want to, like, push any buttons by say this, but I do think that because everybody was fly fishing, that kind of helped with the etiquette. But I've definitely fished, like, the coastal rivers. Like, I've fished one where we've had a gun pulled out on us before.
Oh.
Like,
What?
yeah, oh my God, people go, I call them the coastal kooks here. Anytime I'm fishing a coastal river, like, I just assume that everybody has a gun on them and that they know that they're not afraid to use it. So I don't say a word when I'm fishing on the coastal rivers, but like on a sandy, like if I get low hold, I'll be like, fuck you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you're literally standing where my line is swinging. And sometimes people, like, they just don't understand how fly fishing works and how, like, the water I'm fishing. And so there's times where I'm, like, explain it to them, be like, hey, just, you know, like, I'll try and educate as many people I run into on the river. But
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it makes a difference, but sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to believe that it's just people that don't understand what
Yeah.
swinging a fly means, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
fuck,
Oregon
sometimes,
is
man.
funny too because there's so many transplants. Everybody that's like from here, they like truly believe that they own the rights to the water and that
Yeah.
nobody else is allowed to fish it. And so they just assume that if they don't know you, that you're just from California and that they don't give a fuck about you then.
Yeah.
right. I've been to Portland. It's beautiful. It's a great
It
place.
is, yeah.
It's
You
beautiful.
guys got to take a podcast tour down here.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, no problem.
Super fun.
Yeah, it's not expensive or anything.
No.
No. Great
not at all.
great restaurants, great beer.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there is a lot of beer here.
yeah, there's a lot of beer. The Rogue Brewery, oof, love Rogue Brewery.
Yeah, that place is great.
Place is rad.
But you guys will have to come out.
Yeah, totally. This is the time of the show where we ask our guests 5 questions. Everybody gets asked the same questions. So they're not like speed questions. Take your time answering them. You can take as long as you want. But yeah, so let's start with number 1. So this first question that I have for you today is, what is your favorite fish and why?
I mean, definitely that permit.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
I don't think I need to say why because it's like a badass.
That's so rad.
Yep, super fair.
Yeah, permit are amazing. I mean, geez, like, and especially
Yeah.
that one specifically, like, oh my god.
Yeah, that one kills me. It was an emotional roller coaster.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of leads into this next one too, actually, because you've been fishing all over the place. And this next question is, if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, or, you know, I guess assuming that it's the best time of year to go to that place, where would you go
Right,
and
I mean-
why? And it could be anywhere. It could be somewhere you haven't been, somewhere you really want to go. It could be somewhere, you know. Where would you go and why right now?
This one's hard because I genuinely, the best part of fishing is you could go to so many places and almost always find something to fish.
Yeah.
But right now, if I could, and mainly because I will never be able to go there because I'll never be able to afford it, it would be the Seychelles for GT.
Oh, man.
Oh
Yeah, totally.
yeah, that's a good answer.
Uh-huh.
It looks like such a crazy place to go.
Yes, it does. And it's like, It's like just an easy 20 grand if you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
No big deal.
Super simple,
Jesus.
very affordable location.
So
Oh, yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great. Yeah, I mean the Seychelles are definitely a place that we want to check out too. Okay, number 3 then. This one is what is your best fishing memory?
Probably last summer I taught my dad how to fly fish, and I got him to do his first fish on the fly, and to me that was just cool because I've learned everything from him my whole life. Anything like working on my car, conventional fishing, hunting, I've always learned something from him. I've never taught him something, so it was a cool experience to be able to show him how to do something, and it worked out where he caught a fish too, and so it was awesome.
That's a great memory. Yeah, 100%. It's oftentimes not those giant permits. It's just,
Yeah, that is kind of funny. You think I'd say that, but
Yeah. No, it's cool because usually it's the other way around, right? Like, parents passing on like fishing knowledge to kids or whatever, grandparents and
Right.
stuff. So it going the other way is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Okay, so number 4 then. This question sort of might lean into that a little bit. Why do you fly fish?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's various reasons. I do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
But on a deeper level, just to get out of my head, it's the best thing that I've done for myself as far as self-care goes, and probably my life. And it's something that I will be old. I'll be 90 on the river still if it lets me.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
great.
Yeah, it's a great answer. This is the next one, and the last Mitchie's Fishies 5 is my favorite of the Mitchie. I think it's all our favorites.
Yeah, I think this question, generally speaking, is
It's so
all of
fun.
our favorite
It's so
question.
fun.
Yeah.
So this last question is, what if you were a fly pattern? What fly pattern would you be? What fly pattern best represents you, and why?
Ooh. This is a great one.
Right?
I've never
It's
thought about
it's a
this before.
good one.
There's
It's
so
a
many
good one.
good flies.
Yeah.
I would probably. Oh fuck! I don't know, dude. I mean, my immediate thing that comes to my head is the sparkle minnow because I fucking love that fly, and it's copper is like one of my favorite colors. So there's copper in it, and there's gold in it. It's sparkly, and it fucking crushes brown fish, and they eat it aggressively every time I've used it, at least. And streamer fishing is just fucking sick.
Yeah.
So I would say that one for sure.
That's a great answer. Sparkle minnows are awesome.
Yeah.
You can catch so many different
Sparkle
fish on
minnows are actually really
They're underrated. They're
Really?
so good.
especially
amazing.
around here. I think like for our brown trout around here, like they are an underrated pattern.
Oh,
Like,
smallmouth bass, walleye,
Yeah.
pike.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
so versatile. And I mean, I will fish. If it's in the water and it will eat a fly, I'll try to catch it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to catch. I'm definitely curious for any species. So
So
the
good.
sparkle minnow, I've caught the most species on it for sure. I've even had a carp try and eat it once. It was sick.
Whoa, that's pretty rad.
I
Super
couldn't
rad.
believe it. It didn't work, but it tried. That's all I need.
Oh man, that's awesome. Kayla, I think to say that you're an incredible angler and an even more fantastic guest on the show is an understatement. It's been so good talking to you.
Yeah, it's been awesome, Caleb. I hope you had fun because we had fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was easy. It flew by.
Yeah, it
I
fucking
got more
flew
beers.
by.
That was so fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kayla, any parting words? Like, where can people find you if people want to get involved with the Mayfly project? Like, what's your handle?
Yeah,
Is your
if
contact
they
info?
want to get involved, they could just message me and I can send them on the right way. But I mean, the Instagram is probably the best. It's just Kayla and then 2_ Lockhart. Because
Two.
someone else had Kayla 1_ Lockhart. There's another girl out there.
Oh man.
Do you have a website or anything as well?
Oh yeah, I do. It's on my Instagram on the bio. That's way easier than just saying the whole
Yeah.
www. Blah blah blah.
yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
You can find events and trips on there.
Perfect. Check out Kayla 2_ Lockhart on Instagram, and also to see all the incredible fish that she's caught and that permit. It'll blow your mind. Yeah.
It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a video of you like
Chasing
after it. Yeah, which is pretty cool. I think that's a fun video.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. Aldo, where can people find SoFly stuff real quick?
Well, Mitch, people can find us at the SoFly Crew on Instagram. But the easiest way to find all of our shit is at sofly.ca. Sofly.ca. You can get to our podcasts, our videos, our photos from there. And there's also contact info, so you can send in suggestions, comments, concerns, or suggested stories for Yilma's Fact or Fishy.
Real or fake.
Real or fake.
Help them out.
And I
I'm
promise I
gonna
won't
send
tell
some stories
anybody.
in.
Kayla, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Cool.
All right.
That's it for me. Mitch, Yilma?
Hey, great meeting you. Thanks.
Bye, guys.